What's up guys, it's Aaronitmar, and today we're talking about another hypothetical character in Smash, and this time it's Crash Bandicoot. Crash is a huge icon of gaming. He was effectively the unofficial mascot of the PlayStation 1, and with the Insane Trilogy and Crash Team Racing remasters, as well as Crash 4 coming out later this year, his popularity is certainly higher than it has been in years. So with a combination of that and people who simply played Crash as kids, he has been a huge request for Smash. Not only is he on my personal list, but I've also seen so much support pouring out for this orange Bandicoot that I want to talk about my vague ideas about what I'd like to see him do in Smash. And so, let's do it. So the first thing I obviously love to do in these videos is talk costumes. We obviously have a few designs that we can go with. Smash itself could reimagine classic Crash in the same way they did Banjo or Pit back in Brawl. But why do that when the Insane Trilogy did the work for them? So that's what this render is based on, which comes to us from Team Destination, a team who makes fantastic renders in the Smash Ultimate style, and who graciously let me use this render in their video. Please go and check out their work. This definitely won't be the last time you see their stuff on my channel. They make some super good stuff. So this render is the base that we're going to use for the first few recolors. Now weirdly, the colors that make up Crash are kind of hard to work with based on the way that I recolor these. Something about orange and yellow just doesn't make the easy translation to other colors. So I worked with what I could, but there is a lot of orange here. So first, I made a costume based on Coco Bandicoot, Crash's younger sister. This turns Crash's hair a bit blonder, gives him pink shoes, and white and red gloves to match Coco's shirt. Obviously not the most distinct costume, but I worked with what I had, and Coco is pretty much the same color as Crash in every other way anyway, so it definitely at least matches Coco. Following that is a white Crash, known as Carbon Crash, a clone of the original Crash Bandicoot. This is featured in multiple games, and it's also the Player 2 character in Crash of the Titans and Crash Mind Over Mutant, so it felt fitting as a color to use in Smash. The third costume I made was mostly for fun, and it's based on Tiny Tiger. Now normally Tiny looks like this, but there is a version of him that looks like this, which is just wildly different. And that is where this costume gets its inspiration. Crash gets some tiger-like stripes, a white stomach, and some camo pants, and honestly, he looks really sick. But you know me, I love alternate costumes and appearances, and with Crash 4 right around the corner, I would love to see an alternate costume for Crash using his latest design. This was also made by Team Destination, and here they are side by side, the Insane Trilogy and the Crash 4 renders, just to show you just how different these two are. So for the first recolor, I of course had to make a sort of pink-purple kind of color scheme. Now like I said, it's very hard to work with the base colors, so I did my best here. I'm not exactly the most proud of this color scheme, but you know, it's just been a trend to make a pink and purple color scheme for these videos, so I just had to do it. And it really doesn't have any kind of a reference, it's just that I like these colors. Second up is a color more on the red side, and this one does have a reference. It's based on Evil Crash. Evil Crash is from Crash Twin Sanity and is Crash's 10th dimensional counterpart, and he's also been playable in the Crash racing games. And speaking of the Crash racing games, here is a fun skin that's known as Blue Hyena Crash. This is a skin available in Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, which I think is just super sick. That game has a handful of recolor skins, but of them for Crash, this one is my absolute favorite, so I just had to make it, and I'm really pleased with how it came out. Between how vibrant the blue is, the hyena spots on him, I don't know, there's just something about this that I was just super pleased with when I finally finished it. But now let's talk about the moveset. Now I'm not going to go crazy in depth here. I typically outline the more notable moves rather than talking about, you know, how much percent his jab is going to do. I imagine that his weight, his run speed, his jumping will all kind of be around the Mario area. It just feels like that's what they would sort of base it around, so I've kind of got that in mind while I'm making the rest of these moves. But the big things are, of course, his special moves. So let's go ahead and talk about those, starting, of course, with Neutral B, which will naturally be his iconic spin. Now, if you think that this looks familiar, that is because you're probably thinking of Incineroar's spin, which it is very, very close to. But Incineroar's lasts for a decent amount of time, while Crash's in his home series is very, very fast. So this would be a very easy distinction to make right off the bat between Crash and Incineroar. Crash's would be much faster and would probably be weaker as a result. Incineroar's also has a sort of startup phase, while Crash's, at least in his home games, starts up almost instantly, so that could be another distinction. It would be a very quick to act move. He could also potentially move a lot faster during this brief spin. Incineroar can kind of drift right or left if he wants to, but because it's so long, he doesn't exactly move so far because I guess they don't want the hitbox to be that mobile. But Crash's would be so fast that he could move around much quicker and it would be closer to how he behaves during his actual games. But I honestly just cannot imagine a universe where Crash Bandicoot gets into Smash and he doesn't have that spin move. I mean, it's just automatic. Next up is his side special, which I think should be the Wumpa Fruit Bazooka. Now, I can't decide if I want this to be something that's controllable, at least in terms of trajectory, but I definitely think it should be a charge-up type move where the longer you hold the input, the more power and more distance the Wumpa Fruit should go. Think similar to the Inkling's down special and function, something like that, but using a full-on bazooka rather than simply throwing it, and you're not throwing a paint bomb, you're throwing somehow an explosive piece of fruit. I'm not sure if this would be a kill move, I guess in the same way that Inklings really isn't necessarily a kill move, but it would be very good for an off-stage edgeguard situation. Now, down special could be really cool as a crate throw. Now here we could possibly add an element of RNG, similar to Peach and Daisy's turnips. I think that most of the crates pulled out should be standard crates or question mark crates that do about the same damage. Maybe the question mark crates do just slightly more. But then occasionally Crash should pull out the TNT crates, which do a decent amount of damage. And even more rare than that would be Nitro crates, which are like omega strong TNT crates, which, have the opportunity to kill the opponent depending on their percent. This would be a good reference to different crates throughout the series, while also referencing Crash Bash, which is a sort of party-style game in the Crash universe, where one of the mini-games is called Crate Crush, where the players throw crates at each other to win. Lastly, for the special moves is his recovery. I've seen movesets online talk about his jetpack, and I do think that that is a good option, but if it were me personally, I think that the best course of action would probably be an arrow crate that launches Crash upward. Now, we would probably be breaking some rules from Crash's games to Smash, but I think that it'd probably be fine. Crash would probably spawn the crate and launch Crash upward, while the crate falls downward to potentially hit other players. Think about Sonic's Spring. In his base games, he doesn't exactly spawn the spring to jump upward, they're kind of just there and he uses them. But in Smash, we can break some rules bringing them over to this type of game, and so the moveset allows him to spawn that just to simply have a recovery. So the same rules could apply here to Crash. He could spawn the arrow crate upwards that would launch him, and the crate could act as a hitbox for any player that might interact with it. And lastly is the final smash, which I think would be cool as the invincible Aku Aku. In the Crash games, Aku Aku is a mask that's been possessed, and it serves many purposes, but its primary purpose is the health indicator. He basically tells you how many hits you have left. But he can also grant invincibility, similar to a star in Mario, and I think that utilizing this for his final smash would be pretty cool. Perhaps he lunges forward to hit someone in front of him, then activates a cutscene where he rushes down and hits the opponent, or maybe he hits them several times using the invincibility. Regardless, I think it's great because Aku Aku is basically the second mascot of Crash. Together they make the Crash mascot, so I do think that it would be perfect to have him as a reference somewhere in the game. And if it's not in the final smash, if they come up with something different, then I would love for it to be something else. I mean, maybe it's his series icon, or, maybe he's got an alternate costume where he wears the mask. I don't know. I just want Aku Aku also to be represented alongside Crash. Now, as for the stage, I think it would be pretty cool if we used the warped idea of being transported across different areas through Crash's universe. You could maybe start on a beach and then get warped to a factory and then get warped to, fighting in space. I think it could be a cool idea, since a lot of Crash's levels would need to be adapted for Smash anyway, since the gameplay of the two games is vastly different. Plus, being able to represent a huge range of games that Crash has had would just be awesome. But that is pretty much everything that I've got. By way of music, I trust the Smash team in all non-Square Enix related ventures when it comes to the soundtrack, so I'm all for whatever they think is best. Crash truly has some bops. This Crash moveset is definitely a more simple moveset, but I think it does well to sort of reference his origins in the same way that Mario or Sonic or even Banjo are all sort of older characters, but they still sort of represent the games that they came from. In the same way, Crash, isn't super fancy. He basically runs, jumps, and spins, and, we throw in a couple of extra, doodads, things he can throw, and explosives. But for the most part, he is a very basic character, and I think that they would probably take that mindset and take that concept when they were making this character, assuming he's actually in Smash. I mean, we don't know. We still have not seen this second Fighter Pass 2 character, so, who knows. But yeah, I would love to know what you all think about, what I've presented, what I've talked about down in the comments below. I would love to hear you all add on to the idea, or maybe you've got your own idea for Crash. I would love to hear all about that down in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have a great day, and be good to one another.
というところだと思います。